Hey, everybody. We wanted to say hi, let a couple people jump in on a special Saturday edition. Oh, sorry. I absolutely bumped this. I put this sock on here, this thing to prevent popping the peas and stuff.
But then you're knocking it around and it's still making noise.
I know. That was not well played. Sorry. Oh, good. Okay. So the Twitter mentions you and me specifically. So now
cool.
Hopefully we'll get some people on Twitter. We got one person watching. Hello.
Hello. Speaking of that, let me share it.
Yes, I will.
I'm a little confused because I've been getting tagged in the other Spider-Girl podcast, and I'm like, but why? I'm a little. Oh, yeah. And I heard myself.
No, that was me. I'm sorry. I forgot that my phone was connected to the board. I forgot. I had that muted earlier. So I was sharing it on Facebook. Sorry.
Okay. Hello.
All right.
We are very lively on our phones right now, guys.
For those that are watching the video of this early bit, we are so sorry. You're seeing the top of my head, my 5 head, and so
you're talking about 5 head, like.
Listen,
hiding hat after this horrible haircut.
Hello, Jero.
Hi, Jero.
All right, so yes, so we're going to be covering 5 issues. 5 issues, yes, 5 issues today. 48 through 52. 48, 49, 50, 51, 52. The infamous 51. We finally are going to get to cover this episode.
So what this is I don't really want to call it like season 1 finale because we're only on break for a few weeks, but
right.
We are going to be on break. I think now it's officially because we're not going to do the episode on Tuesday like originally planned just because scheduling.
Yes.
So that's 1, 2. Let's see, because I'm not going to count the 17th. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, almost 7. So 6.5 weeks, we will be off so I guess maybe that is like a break for us with our weekly, trailblazing, like just trailing on through. So
yeah, outside of the 17th, I think this will be the last episode you'll see me in the office for a little while. I'll probably be broadcasting from a hotel room, unfortunately, but So that's kind of the plan. We'll talk about that as we get started. We just wanted to get some people on first. Spend a few minutes just chit-chatting. Hello to SoFlo. And hello to our friend Vinkman. We're going to explain. Kelly knows all. Like, Kelly's got a plan. I'm just rocking along for the ride. She tells me what books to read, and I'm there. So
I also tell you when to schedule things, because like the last episode, we said we were going to start at 4 today.
Yeah. And, I totally forgot about the 4 o'clock thing for some reason. I had it in my brain at 6.
It has been on the schedule for a month.
My bad. That was fine. That
did work out. But
it worked out, and hopefully we'll get a few more people by doing this on a special Saturday edition of the show because Kelly's in her other place of origin. Where she broadcasts from.
My other the quote unquote guest room / my brother's old room / storage / the mattress my mom has in my room is god awful, so I sleep on this futon.
Oh.
So this is my room, but it's because it's horrible.
Yeah. So we're gonna. Last episode, real quick branding thing. I debuted this new lovely little banner, but it doesn't look right because it doesn't fit right. Because Kelly doesn't like it, I'm gonna modify it.
I like the top. I like the top. It's just I don't like it separating us. And then 2, like I worked really hard on this beautiful background, and I don't like.
I understand.
It doesn't compare.
It's
not dynamic enough.
Well, and with like the text stuff like this, it's hard to read with the background. So
yes,
I forgot to change that thing. right quick. That was my bad.
Yep.
All
right.
So while I'm doing that right quick, that'll be like a 3-second
Okay.
fix because, well, I say it's going to be a 3-second fix.
Jero wants to take a stab at it.
Hey, Jero, if you want to do some graphic stuff,
yeah,
we're down. Kelly, how are the puppers?
Puppers are fine. They are downstairs with the nephew. I do not know what's going on. All I know is there is some loud noise downstairs.
But see,
downstairs.
Exactly. Unlike your apartment, it's downstairs, not upstairs.
It's downstairs.
It's not right over your head.
Yeah, and it's also whatever it is. I think because his favorite thing now is less trivia. I think because he was getting smoked and he doesn't like being told he's wrong. Because Gabe is always right and always wins. The self-belief the kid has in himself, I need to bottle it because that self-confidence is key. But
right.
he had a lot of he likes to do those get kids moving, kids-based YouTube hit videos. So they're like 5 minutes of this guy in just random costumes doing workouts. So
I've tried watching what my daughter watches on YouTube, and it makes my brain melt, and I can't.
See, I did it. I kind of started this a few trips ago because I got really, really tired of GTTV.
Oh,
I can't stand that. I can't stand the guy's voice. Like, I'm sure he's great. Like, I know he's family friendly, but like, man, could not take it. So I was like, let's see, what do we have here? And I was like, you want to work out?
Yeah.
I found these kids things.
Dude, I wish that I could have bottled up the energy that I had as a kid. Right now, like,
well, I mean, I'll do the workouts with him. Like, that's not a problem.
Bebop.
Yes.
We're covering, yes. Bebop Bullfrog says, yes, covering my favorite issue, Spider-Girl 51. He took graphic design in college. So we'll hook up on Discord maybe after the show.
Yeah, totally.
And let me
I would appreciate any help.
Okay, let me take that off. Yeah. Sorry.
I would appreciate any help with that. Yeah,
because
I do everything through my phone. And I don't think I'm bad. But no. I'm not. I didn't take any design classes in college. And yes, Bullfrog, we go all through that issue. And
there it is. All right.
I made a lot of I feel like my entire breakdown is just a rant.
It is.
I tried my best. I tried.
She wanted 51 and 52. I did everything through 50. And so I didn't. Yeah. So I was working on 50 when we got started, but I was like, we need to get started. So, all right, I'm going to do a brief countdown and officially start the show. So with that, for audio listeners, they're not going to hear any of this. They're going to hear starting now. So, all right, coming down in 3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Make Mine Mayday here on the Spidey Dude Radio Network. I'm Zach Joyner, your friendly neighborhood host. And before we get started, I wanted to thank our good friends, Vinkman and Scott, our Patreon subscribers. Special thanks to them. If you want to learn more about everything, go to patreon.com/Spidey Network to learn more information and get some really cool perks. We'll start getting all those audio versions. If you're listening to the audio version of this podcast, this was obviously live streamed. As a result, we're going to have some visual references, and we'll be commenting. We'll have our live comments. If you want to join the fun, go join. Find us on YouTube or Facebook or Twitter. That's where we stream all these episodes. And of course, if you like us on the audio version, let us know. Leave us a 5-star review on your favorite podcasting app. If you'd like to contact us, you can always also email us at makemymayday@gmail.com, or the entire radio network email is spideyduderadionetwork@gmail.com. So hopefully you guys like what we're doing and let us know how we're doing. So with that, we'll get started. I'm going to introduce my partner in crime, I am her Felicity to her Mayday, I suppose. It's Kelly. Hello, Kelly.
Weird. Hi.
I was trying
That's
to think
weird.
of a decent segue. Okay, like with the events of this issue specifically.
Okay. All right. It's. I mean, do you really want to be Felicity after
No,
reading
not
these
particularly.
issues?
especially after rereading these issues. So yes, all right.
Yeah,
So what issues are we covering this episode, Kelly?
We are covering Spider-Girl 48 through Spider-Girl 52. So we are completing the complete collection volume 3 in this issue and a little extra. I believe we start getting into volume 10 of the trade paperbacks,
Yes.
which I was unaware got released in 2009 because I forgot.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We use Mike's Amazing World of Comics to get our dates and stuff, and those are really freaking handy. I'm not gonna lie, because they not only, but they're not updated.
But they're not updated, but also I noticed a error, and I had to fix it.
Oh.
And I want to say it was 52. Because it had a different colorist than who actually colored it according to Marvel Unlimited.
Oh,
since those pages were just scanned in, I'm going to assume the scan is right. Yeah, and that's something on Mike's side, or the name. Maybe they changed their name at some point. I don't know, but.
Yeah,
considering it was a studio and they gave a dude, like just a single person, it was I was like, no, let's use the studio name.
Yeah, Udon Studios is what it says in the, and I've got the actual issue right here. So
yeah, but it was Eric something.
Interesting.
Mike's World of
that
Comics.
is weird. So okay.
Always check whenever you're using another website for your sources because it's handy dandy. Always at least fact check yourself. Check your sources.
Listen, good sourcing. That's why I don't use We Got This Covered. Okay. My bad.
Cosmic News.
Cosmic Book News.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
Yeah, don't fall down that rabbit hole. For those that are ever getting into podcasting, never fall into those traps, because as we learned from Greedo, it is a trap.
You can make fun of them, but they hold no merit. They hold no weight. They hold no merit.
Yes. So, all right. We want to mention this off the top. Our scheduling. This is our last episode for a few weeks.
Yeah. So, like, I didn't know. So I didn't write it in here. But yeah. So, like, no real housekeeping issues. But we are recording the next episode on June 17th. It's a mini-sode for the bigger celebration taking place to celebrate Spidey Dude, the site's anniversary.
Yes, we're gonna have a lot of fun that night. There's gonna be we're gonna have a little mini show there. We'll have some updates on our upcoming stuff for the fall. I'll be giving some updates on Forgotten Era, and hopefully on some ASM classics as well. So as well as Voices from the Eerie. So we're gonna be kind of giving everybody our update. We'll be going on a summer break. Real life reason, I'm gonna have my daughter with us for a month, and so I gotta play dad for a little while, and gives Kelly a little bit of a break, and so we can kind of start.
I mean, I like doing this though. I would prefer breaks in other areas of my life, but it doesn't work that way. Adulting does not work that way. So
yes,
it is.
Issue 48, according to Jero, I guess Jero went back and looked, because you can actually look these are sold 26,072 copies.
That's not a lot.
Yeah, but you know what?
But
if you go back,
is it a lot in the scheme of things? Because I feel like how many comics were averaging sold?
You know, it's weird because Marvel, and I'll kind of explain this when we get to 50, because 50 definitely ends on a splash page. And
I mean, yeah.
So we'll talk about a little, and I'll maybe touch in my thoughts on 50 more on how the direct market works.
Yeah, because I definitely want to sprinkle in some history, Spider-Girl history, as we go along in these issues, because like I said, I didn't really want to call this like the first season finale, but technically, because we are taking a over 6-week break, and this kind of feels like the perfect place to start, or at least a perfect place to pause it and end it for the season. Just especially even us talking about it because of where 50 ends. And luckily, I wasn't going to just end it on 50.
Right.
So we
Yeah,
had, so we had to at least make it a little uplifting. But I think 52 is going to be the perfect place just to show that we're coming back, obviously, because we're going to get through this. But two, it marks a really definite change in the comic.
There's a lot of these next, especially moving forward after we do 53, from 54 through 60, that's the next major cancellation point that we know was, and that there's a whole story that we're gonna have, like when we get to that, I think after Season of the Serpent, or after we finish, because Season of the Serpent ends with 59. With 60 is also one of those issues that's kind of was intended to be a penultimate finale type thing. And 61 got all the way to publication almost. The covers were there, the stories were, everything, the scripts were submitted. So I need to double check this, and I'll probably do this because I forgot to grab the other issues. But in the letters page before, I think it was issue 45, they mentioned that they didn't know what Spider-Girl's fate was beyond issue 50. Again, we've talked about that, but with Jameis, they were trying to trim the line significantly. If you go and look at the amount of books that were being published this period of time versus 2 years ago or even 18 months prior, the fact is that Marvel really took, and there was a lot of draconian cost cutting that was being implemented because of Mike Perlmutter, and some of it was justified. I mean, did we really need 18 X-Men titles?
Well, also, I mean, think of the larger picture.
Yeah.
Like, just from a corporate standpoint, think of the larger picture. Because unfortunately, they can't just. Unfortunately, Marvel is not a non-profit company. So.
Yeah. And considering that they just came out of bankruptcy, not even 3 years prior to this, they were on the upswing. Obviously, at the period of these were being published, this was around the time of the first Spider-Man movie. They had success with X-Men, but they were trying to time everything, but then things didn't work out with the big relaunch of X-Men. So it's a very interesting time. The fact that we're getting almost to 20 years from when these comics were published is crazy.
I mean, these are all 2002.
God, I was about to start high school.
Actually, okay. Well, let's see. So we start August, or we start in June. So like this goes all through. This goes all through October. So like this is literally 11. For me, I was ages 11 to 12 during these. Which is why, if anybody was on my Instagram, I used the 2002 song.
At this time, we had just transitioned to Spidey Dude probably a year prior to the time these were being published. And because we were using Zoom and NBCI, which was bought, NBC bought them, and they were like free services like GeoCities. And our bandwidth, we kept blowing through the bandwidth, and especially around the time of May, man, that was a crazy time. I will definitely talk about that during the celebration special here on the channel. So June 17th, we'll talk a lot. I'll talk a lot about that. I'll have a lot more notes, and I'm actually working on the site history page for Spidey Dude. Been working on that for the last few weeks, and going back, and Wayback Machine has put me down some rabbit holes. I had to explain to my wife what a guest book was. And for you kids at home, you probably have no idea what that is. So I'll probably explain that.
No, because people had guest books on their Tumblrs, even as far as a few years ago. That's why I was like, when you said that, I was like, this isn't like some ancient thing. People still have digital guest books. In fact, actually, most
see, I never used.
Now it's almost mostly funeral homes.
Okay.
The technology
right.
still exists. There's still widgets that people use for.
See, I didn't know
blog.
any of that. Yeah, I honestly, I mean, we hadn't used our virtual guest book since like the early days of Spidey Dude. I think we have ultimately dropped it in 2000 because nobody was using it. But it's interesting to see how things have changed because, like I say, my wife didn't know what a guest book was, but she didn't use Tumblr, I guess. So that was that too. So
I mean, she also might not have been on fandom Tumblr. I don't know. Like, all I'm saying is that like I still see them every now and again, and the old like people are still using those chat box widgets on Tumblr now. Like those have made a resurgence, and I was like, what?
I remember chat rooms.
You remember like the chat box widgets that you could add to the bottom of your WordPress or your little web diary or Zanga or Zanga.
Dude, I went full blown
MySpace.
I went through, so I follow like a lot of tech videos on YouTube, and one of them was Mr. Mobile, and he does like when phones were fun, his series on like old phones and everything like that. And he did one on the Palm Centro today or yesterday. Oh,
this isn't my pink one though. I don't know what happened to my pink one.
Okay, for those that are the audio listeners, she just pulled out a Motorola Razr. That is the only Android, truthfully, once they kind of get the folding screen technology a little bit tougher. That's the only Android I would consider having is the new Motorola Razr.
Though I think I had to get a new SIM card here, but at least the AT&T SIM card up until at least Samsung S8 still would fit in here. So like if you're in, honestly, it still might be the same SIM card.
You can get an adapter.
Well, what I'm saying though is it's still the same size.
Nice.
These are great to have if you break your smartphone because at least you can make calls and sort of text. You do have trying to go back to this, man.
T9. Oh.
Trying to go back to this crap. But I have used it not with my S8, but I had an Samsung S6. I think it was the first, not Ultra, but like Edge, S6 Edge, because it was the first one with the edges. Nice. And I don't know what it was, but like that phone just, the wind blew, it'd crack. And so every single time I had to fix the crack, I would whip out. This is the one my mom kept for her, and then I have the navy blue one.
Nice.
But I don't know what happened because we had one in every color, and I don't know what happened to my pink one. I'm very upset. We can't find it.
Yeah, listen, and look, those phones, those Razrs, I don't think I ever saw one. Those, I mean, they were aircraft aluminum metal. Okay, like those things were almost indestructible.
Well, they're not. Okay, they're not as indestructible as a Nokia.
Okay,
which is somewhere in this house. This house is literally slightly a cell phone museum because of how long we've had cell phones. Because like, what was it? My dad got one in just before the '96 Olympics because the GBI needed them. Well, the GBI needed them, and then because they were helping out with the Olympics. Yeah, and then I think at least one, if not all of us, have had a cell phone since.
Yeah.
So.
Make mine a Razr.
Make mine Razr. Yeah, sorry guys, but like.
Oh wow, nostalgia trip. We're
nostalgia trip. I mean, this is a year before the Razr, technically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like I remember because up here, I mean, when the Razr was introduced, let me just explain. AT&T had their own mobile service, but they had not merged with Singular yet, and the Razr was Singular exclusive.
Wasn't this just after the Bell South situation too?
Yes. Yeah. Like AT&T had formed like AT&T Mobility, and then when they merged, they took AT&T's name because AT&T is a better known brand.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, also Bell South was just for the South. So
Yeah. Well, Ma Bell, like my area was Southwestern Bell. We had all the Ma Bells and look up
Anyway.
AT&T breakup. That
yeah, that. Just look at that, especially and that's honestly that's still on topic. Still on topic. Okay. Before we get fully started, Vinkman asked, "What is that beside the Febreze bottle?" I assume you mean this. This poor.
Is that
Goku.
Goku?
Yeah, it's Goku. I got him real cheap at Anime Week in Atlanta, like probably a decade ago, for my brother for his birthday. And since, as he falls, and since Gabe has been able to walk and talk, this is Gabe's, which is why he's now broken.
Yeah.
My nephew. So that's just kind of there. I mean, you can glue him, and then you wouldn't even see it because it's
Exactly.
he's just not glued. It's fine. But less random talk down memory lane.
Yeah, we could sit there. Random. All right. So I will do. Okay. So I'm doing 48, 49, and 50. The breakdowns of that, and then Kelly is going to do 51 and 52.
I have a very spirited breakdown of 51, guys. I promise, and it will be worth your while because we all know that that's everyone's favorite issue. Exactly.
I know roughly what she's going to say, but I'm just going to literally like tee her off and go.
I don't know if we'll even need super opinions, but I did also write an opinion part there too.
All right.
I don't stop my rant, but let's go ahead and get through the rest of the Complete Collection Volume 3 that just came out
if you haven't got
in March. So you guys should still go get it.
Fingers crossed we'll get some more sooner rather than get the Volume 4 coming soon. All right, cover date. Spider-Girl number 48. Cover date is August 2002. On sale date of June 5th, 2002. Cover price was $225. Complete Collection Volume 3 and Digest Volume 9. The title of the issue is called Through a Mother's Eyes. Writers Tom DeFalco, penciler Pat Olive, inker Al Williamson. The letter is Randy Gentile, and colorist is Arnold Sang. Yeah, Sang, because the T silent. All right. Breakdown. Our issue opens with Mary Jane and MJ and Peter and May at home. Peter's preparing breakfast, and they're discussing the events of our last episode. So if you didn't see that, they go check that out after, of course, you finish this episode. So Mayday kicks some Super Skrull's butt. So there's a bit of bitterness on May's part since Peter doesn't really feel like that she won, but kind of got lucky. So they're having a bit of a back and forth. Mayday's also miffed that Peter was trying to get in the webs again and didn't, tell her what was going on. Peter won't let May explain the new Scarlet Spider situation either because he brings up, I can't believe you let her do that. Peter then brings up mistakes, and this causes Mayday to pop off and comment about losing her great uncle. Way to go, Mayday. As she says this, a look of horror hits Mayday's face, hits her like a ton of bricks. MJ's also floored, and Peter does a good thing. He gives her some grace. She immediately apologizes. She's immediately regretful for it coming out of her mouth. She's ashamed. She decides to walk out. Peter's trying to say, like, let's not talk about web stuff. Let's talk about anything else. But Mayday is so ashamed that she has to leave. So she leaves and gets some air. Her spider senses start to tingle whenever she notices a woman who's across the street. Not in the shadows, but out in the open. Mayday wonders if her spider sense is tingling because of danger or because she feels regret. She's, of course, kind of twisted up in knots over this entire situation. We start to get the woman's inner monologue where she wants to reach out to May, but she feels ashamed to do so. MJ then and Peter talk as Peter decides to suit up. MJ has got her misgivings, and we're starting to get her inner monologue. She's trying to choose her battles when she notices Allison outside, the woman outside as well. We then get a brief flashback of the woman to her first meeting with Norman Osborne Sr. before cutting to Normie hearing out Mayday over what she actually said. Green Goblin shows up, and May is still pretty miffed with him for the situation with the Warriors and how they feel about her handling of the face situation.
Well, I mean, also last issue she asked for help and he didn't do anything.
That's right. Yeah, he didn't do anything. He exactly. I apologize. Thank you for pointing that out. Felicity is all. Meanwhile, we cut to Felicity's house where we see an argument between Felicia and her about her outing as the Scarlet Spider. Felicia thinks that she legit hates her. Like, she thinks that she can't stand her because Felicity is obviously acting out and very upset over some of the choices that she feels that Felicia's made. We then have MJ and Allison going back and forth. It's Allison Monograin. So they kind of recount the events of Amazing Spider-Man 417. In the 616, Baby May was stillborn. However, the original, I kind of call it the original plot, but we learned that in the 982 universe, they took a recent stillborn baby and swapped them. They were exchanged. We see kind of the other half of the final scene from that ASM issue of what would have happened had Baby May lived. Brief scene occurs with the Faces deciding to go back to New York City to take out Spider-Girl. And then we learn of Kaine's phone call to Mary Jane telling her that May was in fact alive. He had tracked her down to a boat. Kaine is then coming back to town, and he sees a Spider-Man leave. He thinks, no, surely Peter's not this dumb to be back out as Spider-Man. He kind of wonders internally if it was maybe Jerry. Mayday's still lost her thoughts when Felicity shows up. They briefly talk. Felicity is still insistent on this whole partnership thing, and they're walking back and forth. Peter then, Spider-Sense goes off as he's swinging, sees Kaine, who has, with sheer luck, found his target. He's found Allison. Peter then steps in and saves Allison. Peter and Kaine begin their fight when Mayday and Felicity show up. Mayday decides that she needs to go suit up. Felicity and her start arguing. Mary Jane watches helplessly as Peter and Kaine fight. Kaine then gets the upper hand, calling Peter out, and then breaks his newly created bionic leg. MJ is flashing back to her original reunion with May, and May is fighting with Felicity. Kaine is in no mood to deal with a person in a Scarlet Spider outfit, throwing her into next week and remarking that you don't know how much it pains him to see you in that costume, child. So Mayday then webs two trees and uses that as a way to slingshot herself to save Felicity. And Felicity's like, see, I told you we're a good team. Mayday's like, just shut up. And so, of course, Mayday goes back home and interacts with Peter, and they're kind of back to where they were at the beginning of the issue. So Mayday and Peter are bickering and squabbling like normal, and everything's back to normal. Well, almost. On some level, they're glad that Kaine got away, but Allison then runs back to her hotel room where she then gets a gun. And that is the end for now. So, Kelly, your thoughts on this particular issue?
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy the point of view jumping a little bit on this issue just because it says what the title says, but not necessarily in the most traditional sense. And we get a little bit more on that backstory about how May was found for the MC2 and how she was returned, which is neat. I do feel for Felicia, but the thing is we really never get to know why her kids hate her or have problems. And I feel like we need more context on that, at least, to maybe understand why Jean is the way Jean is and amazing.
Yeah.
Because the personalities between Felicity and Jean are very different. And I would like to kind of almost know more on their backstory and what they've had to deal with Felicia as their mother, because I don't see that, I feel like Jean, it's weird that Jean shows up in Amazing, but wasn't in the original crew. And I feel like he would have been if he stayed with Flash.
Yeah.
So, I want to know a little bit more, because the outbursts and the severe depression that we'll see later, ultimately, to me, shows that there was a lot of instability with Felicia as a parent. And
which I'm not
I'm not surprised. I just want to see it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She loves her kids, which is great. Don't get me wrong. Felicia's not a monster, but there's a reason why the 616 Felicia, even up to the point 616 and 982 really jump off and differentiate, is just it's not necessary. I don't feel like the character should be so night and day from what we see here. Because, you know, she tries to be a really, really good mom when we see her, but like we never see her enough to really see the Felicia we are used to. So I don't know. I feel like there needs to be more. We need to know more on that story at some point.
Oh, absolutely.
But, you know, otherwise, like it's a really decent issue. Obviously, like we had talked about before we went live, you had even debated on doing 48 and 49 together. But I actually think that, like, just because this story with Kaine and the fighting, and of course this does really hit on the end of Felicity being the Scarlet Spider for the most part.
Yes.
This felt like it needed to be a separate issue to me.
Agreed. Yeah.
And
we kind of added that back and forth. And look, Kaine and Peter Kaine doesn't want to hurt Peter. Like Kaine
he does want to stop him from being stupid, which I mean, he's kind of being a little stupid.
Yeah.
And he knows it. We'll talk about that in other issues this episode, because he does admit it to himself.
I love this. I love this cover, by the way, too.
Yeah. Well, I figured that's why you'd want it.
Of course, like these 3 issues are like so Clone Saga like centric. I'm like, yes.
There was a method to my madness.
Yes. Kate. It's weird because this is a different suit of Kaine's that we see. This purple and metal suit. It's a redesign. He had a dark purple suit that was only ever said what it actually was. It was a containment suit to help with his clone degeneration, and to keep it under control. And so Kaine wearing this costume is the same thing. It's a different style of the containment suit. So
yeah, which I think, do we ever like fully touch? I don't recall Spider-Girl ever fully touching on that.
No, yeah. I don't think so. It unless it pops up and I just forgot.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I can't recall it, but
yeah,
I could be totally like, it'll probably be some throwaway line at some point when we're on our rereads.
By the way, I also Jarrow said a comment. This might be one of his Al Williamson's style really shows in his inks. It might be one of his last jobs before he passed. Actually, he didn't pass away until 2010. So this is good 8 years. He's still kicking it pretty.
Yeah,
well.
like, I mean, because Spider-Girl, the end, it didn't get published until 2010. So I think he's in it almost every single time Pat does, unless it's Sal, right?
Of the 5 issues, other than the McKeever Jones issue, Buscema actually does the inks on 50, but he's still doing. I think he does because he does Ron Friends' inks on 52. So he's still in and out, but he mostly. I mean, he almost. I mean, other than the times we've said, he has been the inker on Spider-Girl. So, but yeah. Williamson was from EC Comics or Newer AI. Bob Corwin. Hi, Bob. I don't recall. I'll have to look. I'll do research whenever Kelly's doing a recap on that. So to answer that question.
And of course, I see you skip over the fact that you do not
Monograin.
Like I said, I thought it was last episode.
You were right. I was wrong. I'm freely willing to admit it.
I mean, I could be wrong. Me and Vinkman could be wrong. I'm just saying that how it looks on paper.
Well, historically, I've been bad with names, so I'm just not surprised.
Totally fine. All right. So you're ready to go to 49?
Yeah. Other than that, like I say, my opinions. This is kind of based on the rough outline that DeFalco wanted to go with the Baby May storyline. So, it's kind of truly what if the baby lived, and you can kind of argue that the true divergent point really is not necessarily the gathering of the 5 and 441, but really 417 with the end of the Clone Saga Revelations. So
I think so. I mean, also I think we see things that are going past that and set before that are even different.
There was a brief scene with Kaine fighting the Scryers that's referenced in this next upcoming issue. So that's kind of, like I say, the rough outline. I know that DeFalco had kind of been slowly setting up the story, but Bob Harris had kind of stepped in and was not going to did not want to touch the Baby May story, yet they wanted to do little references here and there and kind of mess with the audience, and it kind of, and I know that really put off like the writing crew of the Spider Comics at the time.
Well, I mean, also it made a lot of fans hate Aunt May for like ever, like so.
I'm not raising my hand.
Not even. It's not even her. It's not even the character's fault.
It's not. You know, for me, I think I didn't hate the character. Like my irritation was not. By that point, I was surfing the web enough. Whenever Peter Parker 98 came out, or 97, when they did the swap with May, I was angry at the time because I thought it was a very bad bait and switch, but. I'm hoping to get more information on that because I know there's a story. But I mean, there's some things that have been put out there, like during Life of Riley, they did briefly talk about it. But yeah, so like I say, that's really, I mean, the artwork is great. It's exceptional. I feel like they do a really good job of seamlessly filling in the gaps and leading the reader along. These issues it's not always easy to do that, but they're really truly accessible to new readers as well as old. So like if you're an old reader like myself that was reading at the time, you understand all these references. But if you're a new reader, it's not beating you over the head with continuity. And especially in this period of time when you had Bill Jamis and Joe Quesada that detested continuity, this was very much the out of the norm of what was being published at Marvel.
Well, I mean, I also think too, like as much as this ties into everything, the one beautiful thing about Spider-Girl is this is such a good starter comic that really dives deep into the Spider-Man lore and the world building without making you feel stupid. So it, which is hard for a lot of new comic book readers because they don't want to just, it feels overwhelming to start a 60, 70-year-old comic from the beginning. And then even if someone does that, they're still going to miss certain things or not fully understand certain things because they're all connected to something else. And that's kind of where this really works because you're given the context you need without making you feel like you're missing something or you're not in on the joke or whatever, whatever analogy you need. You feel like you're included, and
they lead you along, and they, like, when they use continuity, they use it in the way that most of the writers from the 70s and 80s did, which was not beat you over the head with it, but use it as a storytelling device. Because as when I talked to DeFalco in that interview years ago, the characters write the stories, not the other way around, and the plot doesn't drive the characters drive the plot. And so getting to issue 49, speaking of which, all right, cover dated September 2002, on sale July 3rd, 2002, reprinted in Spider-Girl Digest Volume 9, it's Complete Collection Volume 3 as well. You can also find it on Marvel Unlimited if you're following along individually, or you can find the single issues. Title of the issue is A Dish Served Cold. The writer's Tom DeFalco, pencilers Pat Olive, inker Al Williamson, letterer Eddie Gentle, and colorist is Arnold Sang. Our issue picks up with Allison recounting the final days of her time with May. She had grown very, very attached because it started off as just a gig, but it turned into more. She really had developed a bond with this child. We then have the splash page of May on the phone with Phil trying to talk to Daredevil. Peter's called in sick. We don't know where he's at. We have a flashback to last issue. She doesn't want to tell Phil what's going on because she's trying to keep things a little close to the vest. She tells them he tells them that he had bought them all phones, and he promises to call Daredevil and try to get them in touch with each other. Speaking of, we cut to Riley delivering the bad news to Brenda. She's got to turn herself in the next 24 hours. Normie and Brenda have a moment alone while Riley takes the call as Daredevil. So May gets home, and MJ is not having it. May is still in her Spider-Girl costume, and she does not want May to be involved with the situation with Kaine and Peter. We finally find out where Peter's at because we cut over to the F5 headquarters being rebuilt after the events of a couple issues ago. Peter's talking with Johnny, and as Big Brain starts to repair the leg. We then cut to Allison, lost in thought, and where we are told about the Scryers showing up and taking Mayday away. We then learn through her inner monologue that Norman had in fact double-crossed her, and now she's out for revenge. Norman had sent her final payment with counterfeit bills and a knockout gas, and then they were going to cover up her death by exploding her yacht. But we'll learn more about that later on. This is also fun fact for those that were reading Amazing at the time, Robbie Robinson was actually trying to hunt down Allison at the time. And so this is kind of referencing those issues where her yacht did explode. So bad luck. Scryers were tasked with killing Allison, but Kaine's the one that saves her, wanting to get information out of her. To this point, where we learn that Kaine is floored with the truth, and then he sought to save Mayday. He also backhanded Allison, thinking that she drowned and thinking her dead. He still doesn't know why she returned, however, because we're going back and forth between Kaine and Allison. Meanwhile, MJ is holding her first photo as a family, struggling to tell May of what's truly going on, about the entire truth about what Kaine truly means to her. We briefly then see Normie and Brenda out for a stroll as their relationship begins to grow. Cutting back to school, we have Courtney, who tries to convince Mayday to go dress shopping with her, but Mayday has to decline because she has a meeting with a friend, Dark Devil. Mayday then lets Dark Devil kind of know what's going on with her dad and tries to get some more info about Kaine. This is where she then learns the connection with Ben Reilly and Kaine, because, of course, Riley's going to be one of those that knows. After a brief scene with Kaine, flashback of Kaine fighting with the Scryers, we get the rest of the story of Kaine reuniting Mayday and MJ, with MJ realizing that Kaine's next target is Norman Osborn.
Well,
is that
a flashback? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's still in flashback. Yeah.
Sorry,
Kaine,
I was like, wait.
Yeah, not Normie. Kaine's next target is Norman Osborn, aka Senior, not Junior.
Yes.
Allison was willing to let the past go, but because of Normie taking the mantle, he must pay for his grandfather's sins. Meanwhile, back at the FF headquarters, we finally see and learn the true story via flashback of the final battle between the Green Goblin and Norman Osborn, taking place somewhat during the events of Amazing Spider-Man number 441. And remember, at this time, Norman was still publicly beloved, and so Peter was still under suspicion of beating up Norman, as well as the Spider Hunt stuff was going on at that time. So Peter just wants to bring Norman in and pay for his crimes. It's here we learn that Norman was about to deliver a blow using a pumpkin bomb, where Peter then shoots a web line and misses, accidentally attaching his own leg. After Peter reveals that Kaine is after him, because my notes are wrong, the bomb explodes, killing Norman, blowing him up to smithereens. Peter was lucky that most of his body was shielded from the blast. However, it did not save Peter's leg. Of course, Johnny knew about this situation because Peter and Johnny are talking back and forth, and Peter's recounting all these events because Peter does feel guilty about how he owes Kaine for bringing back his daughter, but he's very conflicted. We then get our final scene of the issue where Courtney is so excited for her dress, and as she's walking out into the street to go to the subway, she then gets hit by a car, and that ends her issue. I also forgot to mention there is one brief scene of the Faces getting stuck in traffic trying to get back to New York City.
We know which car hit Courtney.
Oh, is it the same car? I did not notice that. Is that really? I did.
How did you not notice that? Did Zach just die, or did I die? Uh-oh. Okay. Interesting. right. Yay! Okay. Oh my goodness. I am so sorry, guys. Is
Hi,
anybody
everybody.
still there?
Sorry,
I feel
am
so
having to
because I thought it was me.
Completely died. So
I thought it was me, so I'm so sorry. Because otherwise, if I had even seen anybody say anything, so yikes. All right. So yeah. So, oh no, where'd you go, Zach? Now it's black.
okay. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you, but I can't see you.
Okay, hang on. All right, there we go. All right.
Okay.
So sorry, guys. My internet just decided to completely die. So, and it kicked Kelly out.
Told you. Well, no. So when you froze, I then thought because I think I have PTSD from the other internet. Well, all right, cool. Bye, Zach. But yeah, I thought I had PTSD from my other internet, so I thought it was me. So sorry, guys. Otherwise, I wouldn't have dropped out. But I wasn't seeing comments, and I was like, wait, what just happened? Hold on. And I was like, okay, it must be me. So I rebooted, like refreshed.
Yeah.
And then I got stuck in the green screen. So,
so later on this year, just to give everybody kind of a heads up, there's going to be this new feature with Teams, and I can add admins and co-hosts. So whenever I'm doing stuff with Kelly's going to be an admin. So if we have somebody that drops off like me, hopefully that won't have this situation, because now my internet completely will not come back on. So I've got my phone. So while Kelly's
and I told you were having internet issues, and I was like, it can't be me.
It was not Kelly this time. Normally it's Kelly.
Oh no.
So
look, but my mother's internet might be really super grandfathered in and very, very old, and they're trying their darndest to kick her off of it, but it is solid at least.
Yes. So
okay.
Well, but Kelly, I just finished we couldn't have timed it any better. I just finished the recap. So of
you
course,
did well ish. We never got your answer on you looking back and noticing that the car that hit Courtney was the Faces.
I honestly did not.
It's a very similar car.
It's a very
pretty
similar
sure it's
car.
the same car. Pretty sure it's the same car.
You know what? It wouldn't surprise me. It would not surprise me.
That's the whole point.
So, all right.
They hit her. Like, hold on, wait. Actually,
yeah.
Now I've got to look because I'm like fairly certain. Anybody who is still with us, why don't you write in the comments on what you like, who you thought hit Courtney? Because they were driving pretty fast and pretty recklessly to hit a teen girl with a dress, like a dress thing. I forgot what they're called. The protective sleeves.
Garment bag.
There you go, garment bag. I don't know what I was like. Dress bag thing. I don't know. But hold on, because like I swear I have always believed, like that's how I've just always assumed it, and I didn't even notice it today rereading it, that it might be different. So, well, while you do that, let's go ahead and start on 50 if you have your breakdown.
Yes, I still have my
confirm
breakdown.
This.
Well, yeah. Sorry, guys. This was crazy. Man, anything that Murphy's Law today, anything that could go wrong can go wrong. All right,
it's been my week. Okay.
All right, we're getting to issue 50, big landmark issue number 50. This is on sale. Cover date October 2002. The on sale date was August 7th of 2002. Cover price was $3.50. So it is a double-sized issue. The title is called Forgiveness. Tom DeFalco, pencilers Pat Olive. The anchor this time is Sal Buscema. Hello, our pal Sal. Welcome back to the Spider-Girl title as I plug in my phone because I'm in better definition, apparently, according to some.
There you go.
Letter is Rainy Gentile, colorist is Christy Steele, reprinted in Spider-Girl Digest Volume 9, Complete Collection Volume 3. This is the final issue of Volume 3.
Mm-hmm.
Issue begins with May feeling profoundly guilty over Courtney, feeling like she would have saved her if she hadn't been so caught up being Spider-Girl and hunting down Kaine. She laments about how Courtney was always there for her. And Mayday feels like she's failed. She also recounts how Courtney and Mayday met over the years. So meanwhile, Allison feels that she cannot fail herself, and she's going to do whatever it takes to take Normie down. Over in Queens, Peter and MJ debate on Mayday being Spider-Girl. They're talking about the events of the issue, also mentioning that she has a sonogram today. Yeah. And she's also kind of talking with Peter about becoming Spider-Man. And Peter says that he feels like becoming Spider-Man can ease the burden of Mayday, and he feels like he owes the Fantastic Five and himself a chance to move forward with it. So MJ has that sonogram today, and Peter tells her that he won't miss it, which, if you know Peter Parker, those are famous last words, dude. We get the beef of Brad and Moose squashed formally as Brad comes up to visit Courtney with Moose, and May decides to kind of give the boys their space. Meanwhile, at F5 headquarters, Big Brain is adjusting the leg, and Johnny is asking if he can help Peter take on Kaine. But Peter wants to go this alone, and he tries to but he lets them know he's going to try to do this while taking everything easy because Big Brain wants to test out that leg. Back at the hospital, Jimmy and Heather Noble show up, and Mayday learns that she really doesn't indeed love Jimmy. It's not an act. Heather tells her that that she really does care about Jimmy, and that he's really torn up about everything. So Kaine is doing the opposite of his typical MO. He is in fact watching in the daylight. Sorry, for longtime fans of Clone Slayer Chronicles, you'll know that callback. He's stalking Normie, who is with Brenda, and in their final moments before she has turned herself in. Mayday has promised to be there. So, and as we speak, Kelly is calling me out on Twitter. So thanks, Kelly.
You're welcome. I gave you the answer. So, if anybody needs to know, it's the same car on 49. The Faces hit Courtney with their brown truck SUV thing.
So, Mayday has promised Normie that he would be there for him and Brenda. And, well, we finally get to the root of the matter with Peter because we cut to a different scene. Peter just misses being Spider-Man. He's been lying to himself. He keeps using, his daughter as an excuse, and he's lied, he told it was to protect May. He told the Fantastic Five because it was a sense of responsibility. He missed the other joy and freedom. And then we get Funny Face, who shows up. Woohoo! So, needless to say, Funny Face is like, I didn't recognize you from a few months ago, but it's not. It's the real deal. Peter and Angel Face and Funny Face begin to fight. And then Peter gets stuck to the wall, which this is what's happened. So the Faces then subdue Peter, calling him a bit of a loser because he can't get unstuck from the wall. Meanwhile, back at Midtown Medical Center, Mayday is kind of lost in thought. They're zoning out. And so we got JJ with Richie and Davida coming together. And so JJ wants to talk. Doing this in front of Brad annoys Brad. We get a brief scene of the Goblin out on patrol where he encounters a bunch of people that have been caught up in a bunch of goop. So we get the scene with JJ and Mayday. So JJ starts with the apology. He admits he messed up. He shouldn't have been dating the other girls behind her back. And he's like trying to do, look, you're the girl for me. I know you're the girl for me. And so then he gets an inconvenient phone call. It's from the Goblin. So they start taking the he takes the call. Now Mayday notices that this is the exact same type of phone that the Warriors were given from Uncle Phil. So
where did I put it? Because it
And
looks
so-
an awfully suspicious like this.
looks like a Motorola Razr. See, it is on topic. That Razr talk was on topic.
We brought it back.
Yeah. So Mayday's like, if Phil's the Goblin, JJ could either be Dark Devil or Buzz. She thinks her imagination's in overdrive, but then she decides that she's going to spy, and she overhears the conversation. So it's really true because, yes, JJ is in fact a superhero, and Mayday learns because she's got her costume in her backpack because JJ's like, I gotta get across town to get my costume. So we then get one of my favorite Pat Olive panels of her putting the costume on, and so she's kind of going off. She's like, she's talking about how much she blew it. We then cut to the police station in Midtown South. The assistant district attorney is taking her into custody. So then it turns out that there's going to be a media circus. There's a press conference. They're talking about how she's turning herself in. So Goblin is trying to figure out where the Buzz is, and Buzz is trying to find out what's going on. Of course, we then cut to the faces where Mayday shows up and starts beating the living utter snot out of the faces. Mayday is absolutely not having them attack. They attacked her dad. She is in it to win it. She's fighting these two, and she's not holding back. And so, needless to say, Angel Face tries to form an escape, but that's when Phil shows up, starts taking on Angel Face. Meanwhile, Mayday is taking on Funny Face, and she is taking him down, and they both end up becoming defeated. They get webbed up. Of course, Mayday has been speaking out loud about how she continues to doubt herself, that she thought she could trust them, but Peter tries to reassure that that she wasn't in the wrong. Needless to say, that's when the Buzz shows up, and he's being a jerk. So,
well, I mean, okay, is he really, like, he's being his normal self, but is he really being a jerk, or is May just kind of being slightly hypocritical?
Mayday's a little hypocritical here because she's like, you won't believe some of the mistakes I almost made, and so she's like, I'll let you know about this private joke later. So then she gets a phone call from Normie. He's like, where were you? They made a whole media freaking circus. It was like they arrested the Kingpin or Dr. Doom. Mayday, of course, had forgotten about this, not realizing with everything going on that, she forgot. So needless to say, Peter and Mayday separate. Meanwhile, the Goblin and the Buzz take care of. They decide to watch the faces until the police show up. So Mayday's trying to get across town. That's when she sees Kaine, and Kaine is, of course, stalking in the shadows. And Mayday fights Kaine. And Kaine and Mayday go back and forth in their fight. When all of a sudden she starts hearing gunshots because Allison Monograin has her rifle, and she's trying to take out Normie, but she's really not a good shot because she keeps missing. Mayday gets in between Normie and Allison, and because during the fight with Kaine's explaining the situation. So Kaine basically tells Mayday during the fight, "Hey, this is the woman that brought you back. Like, this is the woman that kidnapped you. There's a connection to you." So then Normie's like, do you know this woman? Because he has no idea what's going on. And Allison's like, she thinks that her quest is noble. And by that point, Kaine comes down from the rooftop and says, look, if you murder him, there's no going back. And so he's not responsible. But because she obviously doesn't know the situation, she doesn't know that there's a friendship between May and Normie. And just as she's about to pull the trigger, Mayday decides to do something incredibly bold. And that's take off her mask, showing that her true identity. It's at this point that Allison drops the gun and embraces Mayday, getting to hold the child that she grew to care for the very first time since the Scryers came and took her away. We cut back to Midtown Medical Center, where Mayday is telling an unconscious
right, Zach, I think you're out. I can't hear you. I can't hear you. Can't hear you. Can't hear. Okay. I'm so sorry, guys. And now he's gone.
Okay.
Oh man.
All right. What was the last thing you heard?
That you Allison Monograin.
I keep saying it wrong. Okay.
Held May for the first time in almost 15 years.
Yes. Okay. So after 15 years, the two embrace. So we cut to the Midtown Medical Center where Mayday is kind of telling an unconscious Courtney what's going on, and Moose walks in, and so Moose blames him for the accident.
You've gone out again, I think. This is so... You've gone out again. Aw. Darn it. Alright, guys. I can technically do his breakdowns. Let's see.
Okay, can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. I was honestly just about ready to go. Like, let me just finish the breakdown real fast.
Right when I'm doing this recap, my dad decides to call me. Don't call me right now, Dad. I'm having to use my phone.
Oh.
So anyway, okay, Moose is blaming himself. I'm trying to get through this stinking recap. Moose is blaming himself, thinking because he asked her to the dance, that's why she got in the situation in the first place, which Mayday's like, that's preposterous. And Mayday's like, I should have been with her. I was supposed to go dress shopping with her. Well, but
which Moose is like, what? No.
Yeah. Of course, he doesn't know that she's Spider-Girl, but yeah. So they kind of talk about how they're a pair, and that's when Courtney wakes up. So
conveniently.
Mm-hmm.
I'll talk about it in my opinions. But...
So Brad, Mayday runs outside in the hallway. Brad, of course, has been there this whole time, waiting outside for any news, and so she's like, "They woke up. She regained consciousness." The two then kiss right in front of JJ. Wop 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 wop. So we then cut to the sonogram, and we find out it's a boy. So Peter is. You get this really great, especially if you're reading this. I don't know if it's going to be this way. I need to double check if it's this way in the trade. But they have these 2 pages where you have Peter's face, and then you have Mayday's face. They both have this kind of steely resolved. And Peter's like, she's earned the right to be the only web slinger. And he's finally kind of saying to himself, maybe I shouldn't become Peter Parker or become Spider-Man. So then we have Mayday, lost in thought, lost in everything. So so then she decides to pull out her costume out of the backpack, and with tears in her eyes, she says something's got to give, because maybe it's time you finally realize that you can't handle such an enormous responsibility. And she throws her costume in the trash in a direct homage to the 50th issue of Amazing Spider-Man. Mayday has given up being Spider-Man. So as things start flying behind me. So if you guys heard that, I'm sorry. Yes. Okay. So Kelly, what are your thoughts as I fix the review button? So there you go. All right.
Alrighty. So let's see. I like how I was listening to that and then totally went all the way back to 48. So yeah. So I'm really glad that the Faces situation is now resolved, especially, after they hit Courtney with their car. And, Peter was really supportive of her being so, supportive of what she tried to do. And, that was a large part of contention with May, was she didn't want to admit this to him because she felt like such a failure. And, and, it's weird to see like where he sees like, okay, this is what's been bothering her this whole time. And wow. And he's very supportive, which is not something that May was expecting. But the thing is in reality, as someone on the outside looking in, she was never at fault. She gave them a second chance, and they blew it. And that's not on her. She just gave them the compassionate option. But she's still super, super critical because of all the damage that basically was allowed because she decided to give them a chance. Her being mad at JJ for being the buzz and not telling her is really hilarious and hypocritical, because it's not like he knows that she's Spider-Girl. And then the main part that I want to talk about was I totally forgot that she talked to Courtney like about all of this while Courtney was in a coma. And seeing, it's just kind of like, is that maybe where Courtney kind of found out about May's secret? Because we do know towards the end that it's kind of pretty clear that Courtney might have an inclination of what's going on. And, it's very weird because, again, it's like Moose straight up walked in, and I know she's speaking softly, but that also gives inclination. Moose isn't, we've kind of learned like Moose he has a little bit of a detective brain at times. So did he also overhear? And anyway, them being so happy made my mood better. And of course, yay, Courtney pulled through. And I wrote kissing Brad. It was a harmless mistake. But poor JJ. And of course, yeah, and then I wrote, don't put your suit in the trash. That's gross.
Right.
Those are my real opinions on this issue. I don't know. I like this issue is such a major point in the series that I don't have like too many opinions, just because it's like, and this is what this is, and isn't this cool? This is so great. But obviously, like, I think that's maybe less. Essentially, that splash page has lessened for me over the years because it doesn't hold the weight that it's supposed to, because we know we're going to get more issues. And like, it doesn't really take May really more than like one issue, because by the next actual issue, which we will talk about before I go into my 51 breakdown, but the next actual issue is 52 for this, and by the end of it, she's back to swinging webs. So it's not, I don't know, like, it just doesn't really hold, I guess, as much weight as it should. But it is a very striking image, and if that had been the last issue, I don't know if that would have liked it.
Yeah, it felt like it definitely ends on a very downer note, and it's one of those things where I just feel like that they did a good job with it. Obviously, it was clearly intended to be and because we learned that anytime you see a splash page, you kind of have to beware, is this the last issue? Well, I also think that they wanted to do something kind of special and kind of homage that 50th issue. It's a really great one. I do respect the fact that we finally get that conversation in conflict with Kaine and May, that, he's like, look, I might have been kind of creepy in the beginning, but I'm not that guy anymore. So,
as he totally pulled the full creep factor the first time meeting her, though.
That's true. I can't discount that at all. But definitely one of those situations where, Yeah. So I guess that gets us to the next issue. I mean, I don't have.
It does, because I was gonna put in the next segue. You know who's a bigger creep? This nameless guy. This kid with no name.
All right, Kelly's gonna do the recap. I'm on my AirPods, so I can kind of move around a little bit. So
yay! All right, so I will need you on a little bit of a history situation before we start. So Spider-Girl 51, the info is the cover date is November 2002, and it was on the shelf September 5th, 2002. The title is Dearest May, and the writers were Sean McKeever, artist Casey Jones, letterer Randy Gentile, and colorist Eric Coe, but I actually think that that's not Eric Coe. I'm pretty sure that's Udon Studios as well. And I'm wondering if Eric was Udon Studios and then maybe changed his name later on. But I like I said, I noticed that from where we get our info. And again, kids, fact check your sources.
Yes. It is Udon. In the issue, because I got the issue in front of me.
It's Udon Studios.
Yeah. It's Udon Studios.
Yeah. And I could tell by the coloring, honestly.
Yeah.
So this is reprinted in Spider-Girl Digest Volume 7, not Volume 9. And thankfully, this has not been printed in the complete collection. And I'm sure it will be in Volume 4 if we get a Volume 4, though I'm slightly hoping that this becomes the lost issue. And I will this is the only Spider-Girl issue and the only Spider-Girl appearance, I think, ultimately until Spider-Verse, where Mayday was written by somebody else other than Tom and the crew. So it's interesting.
Yes.
It is. Do we have don't you have a full story on that? Like, is this the April Fool's Day situation, or was that after Marked for Death?
No, that was I think it was between season of, I think that was after 60. So the April Fool story is that because if you were, like I said earlier, 61 almost got to print, and they needed a new script, and so the new 61 is actually the first issue of Marked for Death. So,
got you. Okay, all right, got you. So, do we know why this got printed? Why this story even got approved?
Okay, here's what I and I can't. This is me recalling this from memory on the Spider-Girl message boards. R.I.P. So Marvel had done a few inventory stories because they were starting to get a lot of flack for delays in books, and so they wanted a few inventory stories in the drawer. I honestly feel like that this is one of those issues that they tasked on Sean McKeever to write. Hey, can you write me a Spider-Girl story just in case Tom or Tom slips or something like that, or we have something happen. I also think this was also potentially a backdoor to see if the fan base would respond to having a new writer, because Sean McKeever at the time was pretty well acclaimed for his young adult type comics. Stuff like Spider-Girl Loves Mary Jane was coming out around this time. So I think that there was a few things going on. I would have to ask Tom specifically, and I hope that we can do that in a future interview, because I'm very interested in this.
Yes.
So
it's just, I guess I should go ahead and start the breakdown of this so you guys understand. So this is kind of known amongst the fandom as the issue, and it is very so this isn't in May's perspective or in her head like normal issues. This we aren't seeing this from her perspective. It's a letter from just some guy. We never learn his name. And he starts comparing May to a cloud, which, okay, cool. Luckily, this kid scraps that letter, thankfully, as it's too sappy before writing a new one. He's been trying to